So hello, Laurent. I'm Umair. I'm a host on this Better Tech show where we introduce great startups to the world, and we welcome you today on our show, and would love to hear about your journey and company. So welcome on the show.
Thank you, Umair. Thanks for having me.
So let's start by learning a little bit about yourself. I mean, what's your background? What did you do before joining this company? How you ended up in this company, and what's your role over here?
Yes, so I'm an engineer. Before I started front in 2014. And before that, I ended up being a CTO for several companies, but I was not a founder. So I think I learned how to become a CTO. And then, of course, I wanted to start my own company.
So, I mean, you've been a technical guy throughout your life, and then eventually you started Front. So how did the idea of the Front came forward, what it really does, and what's your team, who's your co-founder? Tell us a little bit about Front and its how its inception.
Yes. So my co-founder is the wonderful Mathilde, who I've worked with for over 8 years now. I think the problem we're solving at its core is really scaling human communication. So you know that feeling that when you're working in a very small team, communication is very easy. Everyone has the same context. If you speak to a customer, you know who they are, you know everything that you need to know. And then this quickly falls apart as you grow. People lack context. There's lots of unwritten rules. That means that it's really hard to onboard new people. And we've seen situations where communication blunders really lead to burnouts. And we live in an age where you really can't be a faceless corporation anymore. So we work with over 8,000 customers. Basically, the inception was we had this idea of displacing email. So we are going to make a product that on the surface really looks like an email client, but the goal is really to take the place of email in the company stack. We started as a very niche product. So the problem with email is that there's been like even if it's something that we're really used to, like these apps are extremely complex, and it's very, very hard for a newcomer to enter that workspace. So we had to start with a niche app that would solve a very specific problem that was very acute for a small number of customers. And that's what we did in the early years. And gradually, the app became more mature, and we were able for these customers to gradually become sort of a watering hole for their employees. So at the beginning, like only a small team is going to be on front, and gradually, like you make sure that every employee of our customers is a front user. Which means that Front is now able to solve a big problem of communication, which is silos. So the fact that you have two teams which have different data, which no longer really speak to each other, and who are going to have a very different opinion on what the problems are. And I think like that took a big chunk of the early journey of the company. And in more recent years, we became more of a platform. And so what that means is really like first you have a product that's very flexible, and you start injecting opinions, and you make the product more prescriptive so that it's not just a database that you can use any way you want, but it's actually going to help you accomplish outcomes.
Great. And how was your funding journey? I mean, you raised quite a bit of money. So when did you last raise your money? I believe you must be revenue positive and maybe EBITDA positive at this point in time. Is this correct?
Yes. So our last round was January 2022, so a bit over a year ago, Series D. I think overall we raised more than $200 million. And again, it was a journey where every time we raised money, we had to prove that we had done our homework correctly and that we had run the company in an efficient way. Mathilde has been very open, so she has shared all of the decks that she put together for fundraising. So it's available on the internet, and I think it's if you're interested in fundraising, it's something you could check out.
Wonderful. Laurent, it must be really a treasure trove for people who are looking to create startups and raise funding. So that's very cool. So I think I can find it somewhere on your site or somewhere where people can take a look at those decks that you have used for us. Okay, that's wonderful. We can definitely put that link when we publish our podcast. So as I understand initially from your site and from your discussion, that initially the front was kind of a multi-channel communication app. I mean, we try to, since I also run a professional services company, we try to solve that problem for a call center way back, like 10, 15 years back when there was a social media that was coming in. So they were not only getting requests from their phone channels, but also because they were also getting requests or assistance requests on Facebook or for that matter, other social media channels. So we integrated them into one space where their Facebook as well as their phone calls are routing to one. So I believe that front worked to make it a product, and you are now integrating a lot more channels. So it's an email. Walk us through. I mean, how many different channels you integrate, and how the user experience works.
Yes. So basically, like I think the name tries to say it all. So front wants to be the front face of your company. So any communication between your company and the outside world goes through front, and that can take the form of email, SMS, social media, things like Facebook Messenger. I think like things like WhatsApp, Telegram. You can even we offer APIs, so you can build your own connectors if you need to. We even, so for example, we have customers that collaborate on reviews. So for example, if you have an app on the Play Store. So really, like I think it's easier to name channels that we don't support rather than channels that we support.
So what are the channels that you don't support?
All right. Yeah. Sorry, I should have said that. And then I think like the big idea of front is that if you work by yourself, you don't necessarily need to be organized. If you work within a team, you need to be organized. And what that means is that you need to make sure that the way you organize internally is not going to be visible from the outside world. So for example, if you use a ticketing solution as an external customer, if you reach out to the company and you receive a ticket number, I think the problem is not that you see this ugly number. The problem is that you get dragged into the internal process of the company, and that's what we want to avoid. So front like offers systems. So when a message comes in, you can say, for example, well, I have like 10 different addresses, for example, tweets on social media, you have a contact form on your website, you have WhatsApp messages, you have an email address, but they're all going to be treated as support messages. And so they can all lead to one inbox where like you no longer really care where that comes from. What's important is the intent that these are messages for customers looking for support. And the fact that you can like present something completely different, like the way things are presented on the outside is different from the way things are presented on the inside, I think is really what enables these great communication workflows. And then internally, like you can deploy systems so that you make sure that the right message is delivered to the right person internally. And then that person has the context and all the help they need to do a good job. So for example, like you know that messages from high-value customers, you are actually contractually obligated to respond within 1 hour. And so you can tell people, hey, you have 10 minutes left to respond before the company breaches its contract. And it really should be seen as a help for your employees, so that they know what's the right action is, and what they should do next.
No, that's understandable, and the use case where outside customers are approaching your company from different channels, and you route them to one single place, and the next available agent or user can really respond to them is pretty straightforward and understandable. I remember, if I remember correctly, I had a very specific use case once for my own company, and I kind of reached out to you guys to understand if you can support that. So let's now that I have the CT of the front in front of me, let me ask that question right away. So we operate a team of, so that's now more of an outward communication where we want to kind of monitor and help our people. So let's assume my sales development representative teams as well, and I have account executive teams like any inside sales team, and they respond. When the inbound lead comes in, marketing qualified leads come in, it needs to get assigned to a specific SDR. Now that SDR responds to that particular customer, and I want my SDR manager or his team lead to have the ability to take a look how they're responding and even help them in responding if there's a need, as well as they need to have some templates or some information that they can use, or et cetera, et cetera. So so this is one of my core use case, that while my team is responding, a manager can take a look at how they're responding, can help them with the responses, and so on and so forth. While the responses remain isolated from each other, the visibility remains isolated from each other. So how Front will help me in meeting this sales goal?
Yeah, it's interesting because we work with customers in many different industries, and so this is like I think something that people try to accomplish in different ways. So let's dive in a little bit. So when you have a message that comes in, you have several options. So for example, you can say, well, I have a group of people. I want all of them to receive an equal fair amount of work. And so, for example, you could deploy a load balancer. So it's something that will basically assign conversations and make sure that people get no more than, for example, 5 conversations at a given time, or you can define like the different rules. Or you could, for example, use a piece of data about a given customer to say, well, in this case, I know that the right point of contact is like this person specifically in my company.
Let's assume I try to assign them in round robin. So
yeah, okay.
I get like 30 inbound emails or let's say 50 marketing qualified leads every single day. Yeah. I have like 10 SDRs, and in a round robin fashion, they get assigned to every SDR, whose job is to take a look at that marketing qualified lead and try to create an appointment for an account executive.
Yeah, yeah. So that's entirely possible. I think what I would add is that if you do it for long enough, you realize that your efficiency as an organization will really depend a lot on nuances of how the workflow is deployed. So for example, do you always dispatch messages instantly? How do you deal, if you have one person that needs to go out of office, what happens in this case? And that's why I think we try to offer simple workflows that everyone can understand, but with the customization that you need, because your efficiency and we have a strong analytics offering. Your efficiency depends a lot on the nuances of how you deploy these workflows.
Sure. Okay. But you feel that these kind of use cases can be dealt within the front end?
Yeah, definitely. About the second part, so like you have a manager that wants to review what's going on. So the thing is, you can easily create a situation where the manager can see in real time everything that their reports are doing. They can even see like messages as they are being typed. So you can see if someone is drafting a reply, you can see the reply being written in real time. You can intervene. You have a private system of comments so that before sending something, if you're not sure, you can easily escalate to someone so that they can proofread you. You can take over someone else's reply. And really like I think it works because you have that expectation that you always look at the last version. So you have like potentially like 100 or even 1,000 people who are touching the same data and who are typing. But if you look at a conversation, you can trust that this is the last known state of the conversation. I'm sorry, it's the engineer speaking.
Sure. No, understandable. And so, I mean, the email integration, I understand the SMS and all that, they can come through different channel. The email integration, email delegation, is it built on top of Google's shared email kind of stuff, or is it something your own proprietary that can work with underlying any exchange software like Microsoft's Exchange, XYZ?
We offer both actually. So on one hand, you can connect to Google Workspaces, so Gmail, and you can sync a Gmail inbox, basically. You can also like connect directly to Office 365, or you can like have a custom email connector where you just like redirect all of your emails to an address that we give you, and then you operate from there. I think it's still like surprisingly complex to integrate in the email stack. So we have a team that is dedicated to helping our customers make that connection and making sure that that you can do it safely and comfortably.
Wonderful. Okay, so I guess you cover a lot of use cases. So I mean, what are your customer base? Is it large enterprises, mid-sized companies? I'm sure they must be all over the segments, but who's your more sweet spot in terms of customer base?
Yeah, I think like because we deal with communication, we work like with like almost any industry that you can imagine. So a few highlights. I think like it's going to be industries that where communication obviously is something important. So it's going to be professional services, logistics, travel and hospitality, B2B tech. What else? Like for example, legal firms.
Right. The journey is taking you now? I mean, where would we see Front in, let's say, 2025? I mean, what kind of evaluation you're targeting? What are your plans in the next couple of years?
I think like we're still at a time where like even 1 year is still a long time for us. Like it's still a significant chunk of the company's lifetime. I think what I try to stay focused on is where is the market headed. I think that and then like I try to work today on like not necessarily what our customers need today, but what they'll need. I think the trend that I'm seeing, and so where I'm trying to take the company is that I think it's basically what you described earlier. So earlier, like you described like the ideal way that you'd like to work. And that's actually pretty different from how you would have talked to me even 5 years ago, where if you buy an off-the-shelf product, like you were used to accept that it will come with limitation and it will limit what I can do, but it's okay because it's off the shelf, so it's going to be cheaper. I think now people really look for off-the-shelf product, but they do not want to make any compromises. I've been like part of discussions where basically the choice that a customer wants to make is not whether they'll use Front or another product, but whether they will use front or rebuild something bespoke internally that does the same thing. And I think it's not because they realized that a lot of effort was put in building front. So they don't underestimate how complex it would be to rebuild something like front, but it becomes completely unacceptable for them to compromise in any way on how they would like to work. So where we're really working is make sure that we remain an off-the-shelf product, but at the same time, you can really work exactly the way you want. And you can do it as much as possible without any outside help. And it's not just about it being more cost effective. It's really about ownership. And we live in a world where increasingly if you identify one thing you could improve in your day-to-day workflows, it's something that you want to implement right away, because that's how you can stay in business.
No, understandable. And I feel that that's the way to take it, that you have highly customizable platforms that can not only, I mean, that bring the power of being off the shelf, but at the same time can really fulfill my use cases that I'm looking for. So I guess at this point in time, all I can say that we wish you a very good luck with Front App, and with all this conversational AI coming into the play. I can sense that probably in the next editions of Front, you will probably also offer automatic responses or something like that that can take it to the next level. So we're looking forward with excitement where the Front would go, and I guess you guys have done a great amount of work and traveled a long journey so far. So all the best wishes from our side to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.